What's going on, gentlemen? I wanted to make a video today that I'm gonna title something like the defense of the regular old AR-15. I think you saw in my last video, I have a SIG Spear, I've got the LT, I've got the Rattler. Those guns are fairly advanced firearms, and I think there's a lot that's getting missed on guns like this. I like the newer stuff too, okay? Don't get me wrong, obviously I have 3 of them, I love them. They're like, if the world ended, that's the gun I'm grabbing. This is more of the everyman's rifle, and like I said, I don't want it to be overshadowed by everything else that's coming out or is already out there. I wanted to go over the setup of the rifle, why it is I set it up this way, and then also go into how much it costs, how I built it, all things like that, because this gun was entirely built by me from scratch, starting piece by piece, actually, screw by screw. I got this guy going. Well, I'd say let's just get into it. Basically, this is a standard AR-15. This is a 16-inch barrel. There's nothing fancy about it. You're not going to have any NFA issues. The reason I think something like this is so important is the cost. This gun is extremely inexpensive in terms of other firearms I have. I mean, that Spear, guys, that retails like $4,000. That's just the rifle. That's nothing else on top of it. A gun like this is almost nothing. I mean, depending on the parts that you get, the upper, the lower, the barrel, the trigger, all that stuff, you can get this gun fairly inexpensively. Now, a lot of stuff I've put on here is pretty good gear. Like, I've got a Geisley in there, I've got the Radian selectors and things like that, but that's not necessary. I think what I'm trying to get into is this gun is a platform, and this platform is anything that you want to put on it. So you've got a lot of options. It's not just one style. It's not straight out of the box perfection, as Glock says, and then everyone customizes it. But this is a gun that you can really do whatever you want with. The optic I have is an LPVO because I think that's pretty important. I think being able to go magnified and to pull it all the way back to 1 is extremely necessary. With this guy, I've also got a Vortex Razor sitting on top. This whole setup, this is why I'm getting into this part, is this whole setup, this optic, the LPVO plus the red dot, that is not expensive either. This thing, I got this back in college. I think it was like 300 bucks. It's the original, it's the OG Vortex 1-6 Strike Eagle, where it's got the throw lever backwards. So if you go to the right, it actually pulls it to a 1. And if you go to the left, it pulls it to 6. Every other optic that I have is the opposite. That drives me crazy. That's the only thing I hate about it. Other than that, this rifle optic, the LPVO, is, in my opinion, fantastic. I have taken this guy out to like 700 yards with just this. And this is a second focal plane. It's not even like this is the new high-speed gear. This is a second focal plane optic with an illuminated reticle that's like a BDC, not MOA, not MRAD, none of that. It's a bullet drop compensator inside of a second focal plane optic. The reason I like LPVOs is the cost, but then also the versatility. So for what you're paying, especially for something like this, okay, a second focal plane 1-6, for something like this, you're getting tons of versatility. Like I said, you've got a throw lever, so you're able to go 1-6 really quickly, and I think the image quality is actually pretty good. Obviously, I've shot really expensive LPVOs. To be fair, I don't really care. I think this is fine. Like I said, I've got this guy out to 700, and I could probably push it farther. But having a red dot on here, again, something like this, the Vortex Razor, so it's not something ridiculous. I mean, I love RMRs too, but they don't need to be on every single rifle. Having a Vortex Razor on a Vortex Strike Eagle, that is incredible, guys. 1-6 is something that I think pretty much all standard rifles should have, and this is why I'm making this video, that in defense of the regular old AR-15, is we have specialized rifles for a reason. They're special, they're specialized, they are meant to do special things. With this gun, this is for everybody. This is, if you had one gun in your safe, if someone, like I used to work at gun shops, I did this for years. When people would come in and say, I want an AR-15, okay, why and what for? I'm not saying I disapprove of it, it's why do you want it? There's a reason for it. If someone walked into a car dealership and they say, I want a car, you would immediately ask them, what are you doing? Are you a long-haul trucker? Are you a taxi driver? Is this for a family of 7? It all matters. And so with an AR-15, you have to ask the same questions. I want an AR-15. Okay, to what purpose? Well, I want it to be able to do everything. Ta-da. This is basically it. This is the I want it to do everything gun. It's not going to do anything great, and it's going to do everything okay, and that is exactly what you want. Is it great for clearing rooms? No. Is it the best at long range? No. Is it good for the middle ground? Yeah, that's basically where this guy shines. And if you set it up properly, which is also why I wanted to make this video, you can get it to run pretty well. So the reason I'm saying set it up properly is the amount of guns and gear that I've seen throughout my life and classes is abysmal. I don't think most people can set up their gear or their rifles to save their life quite literally. And so I think something like this is necessary, someone learning something like this. The LPVO 1-6, the reason you do something like this is you want that quick change magnification. But what happens if you're sitting at 6? Okay, if you're already at 6, thus the red dot, you've got it right there, you're ready to go. The reason I mounted it in the front is because I use night vision. If I have night vision on, mounting it back here, it's too close. You mount it in the front, that's pretty much your best bet. The reason I like top mounted red dots as opposed to red dots at a 45 is actually shooting from a 45 position, canting your gun to the left or the right, depending. In my case, it would be canting it to the left. That's not very comfortable and it's not very consistent. You can get it that way if you really practice, but to be completely honest with you, shooting that red dot on top of the LPVO is a much more natural position than it is canting the gun. The only reason I would really ever cant the gun is if I had some sort of a malfunction in the LPVO or the red dot combo. The reason I have these is for that exact reason. So these guys pop up, okay? They're 45s on the rear and the front. So essentially, you have your red dot on top and you have your 45 throws literally at 45. If you're gonna build a generalist rifle like this one, you need to look at everything through the lens of a generalist rifle. The optic setup with the LPVO and the red dot and the 45 backups is a generalist optic setup. Now with everything else, you also have to think about that as well. So the barrel to me is probably the most generalist you could get. It's a standard 16-inch. There is nothing special about it. It's a good barrel. I got it from Ballistic Advantage, which I think the Ballistic Advantage Hansen series is the one I got. I love these things. They've got the pinned gas block and everything. They're very, very good rifle barrels for what they cost. But I went with a 16 for a reason, which is I don't want to deal with any NFA issues, and I want to stretch my gun as far as I need it to without going into a specialized territory of the 18 or 20s. So a lot of guys will say that if you have an SPR or even a GPR, that generally they want you to have 18s. Sure, I mean, you could. And to be fair, if this was an 18, it would probably be pretty much exactly the same rifle. I live with the 16 because they're available everywhere. That's it. There's nothing special about it. It's a decent rifle barrel length. And you don't have any issues NFA-wise, so it's just a standard rifle barrel. Also, the reason I did that is this gives me a fairly big mounting platform on the top with your pick rails. So thus the last video with my thermal gets mounted here. Okay, thermal gets mounted here, which means everything gets pulled over to the side. So I have my Surefire tape switch here on the side of the gun where I would usually have it at the top. And the reason I do that is because obviously the thermal's gonna mount here, so I can't use a pressure pad on the top. So that guy gets routed underneath the camo form just to hold all the cords together, and then it sits on the side. Indexes perfectly with this guy. It's the same height, the 1.5-inch height. Again, standard. That is a standard rifle optic height. But on a 16-inch barrel, I think it makes sense. The rifle light I have is Surefire. I'm a big fan of Surefires. I think they've had some problems in the past. Some of them still do, to be honest with you. But they're a pretty good brand in terms of just rugged durability. I obviously have 100 Concepts light cap on there too. I think that's damn near necessary on just about every gun. You don't want to be having a light shined at you and then that reflects right back, because it is literally a reflector. That is how lights work. So having that covered is a huge deal. But yeah, going with the Surefire, I think that's a solid choice. And this is the rifle length one, not the mini. Reason for that is obviously this is going to be on a rifle. Again, we're talking GPR. So this rifle light is something you want with the most lumens as possible. Like I said in the last part, it is wrapped underneath this guy to index here, so that you basically have no issues with cords. It's not like this is gonna get snagged on anything. And then the bipod. Any rifle that I have a decent optic on that I'm assuming I'm going to be laying down to take some shots, I do this guy. This is just a basic Magpul bipod. I love these things. They're like $100 and rock solid. Yeah, it's not an Atlas. Sure, you could get a much better bipod, but you're gonna pay like 3 or 4 times as much. So I would rather get 3 or 4 bipods, because then in the event that I need them, this is good enough. I do a lot of long range shooting. We've taken this guy out to 700. I've taken 308s out to 1,000. We've done 6.5 to 1,000, and every one of those shots has been done on a Magpul bipod. I think they're completely fine. The other thing that I'm sure some of you guys noticed is that Surefire muzzle device. The reason I do that is just about every suppressor I own is Surefire. The reason I do that is it is super easy to index. You latch it in, twist that guy, you're good to go. Reason for the duct tape is so serial numbers don't show up on the video. Same with this guy, so we don't get any liberals mad calling into the ATF. But yeah, so that's basically why I use these, and every one of my guns has a Surefire muzzle device, and it's even specialized to those rifles. Like this one being the War Comp is the 3-prong. So it's a 3-prong with a slight compensator. It's not tons of flash, actually pretty much none, but because of that, the 3 tine there, that guy, that is fantastic as a muzzle device. I think it's actually one of my favorites because it's kind of like the original ones from Vietnam, where they had the 3 prongs like this, a little bit longer. But Surefire, I think, perfected this one. Obviously, you've seen this one has gotten beat the hell up. I mean, that guy is crusty. I do have to clean this every once in a while. I throw some CLP on it and really scrub the carbon down, otherwise the suppressor won't even index with it, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I love these things. And like I said, I have them on all of my guns so that my suppressors are easily changeable. So tying it all together, you have to think about the rifle as a system. I'm not trying to just use that buzzword as the rifle system, but it actually kind of is in this case. This rifle is actually a system. What I'm doing is I'm taking a bullet, I'm shooting it down as fast as I can through a 16-inch barrel, and I'm using some sort of an optic to get me there accurately. That's what this gun does, okay? Not every gun is designed to do something like that. Some guns are meant to do volume of fire. Some guns are meant to be really specialized close-range shooting. This is a gun that generally is gonna work in most situations. I think every part of this rifle, once you think about it, is important. The buttstock's an important choice. I went with this one because it's rock solid. And if I want something that's kind of a stable platform with the bipod and everything, I wanted to go with a stable buttstock. Even the grip. Now, my friends make fun of me because I like these, the plus versions of the Magpul ones because my hands need to be soft and supple, and that's what these ones give me. But yeah, I like the rubbery ones. But I like it because it's straight up and down. If I'm going to get behind the gun like this, I don't want a curved angle because it's not good on your wrist. If you're actually going to be sitting down taking accurate shots, you're going to be grabbing here anyway like this, and I want it straight up and down. Every part of this rifle is custom. It's put together for a generalist role. I mean, the trigger, like we talked about, is a Geisley. I love Geisleys. They're very expensive. I do think they're worth it, to be honest. That is a really, really expensive part of the gun, but I love it. Even the Radian, I just keep all my guns consistent. They all have Radian 45 throws. And again, that's just because all my other guns have that. I went with the gas-busting charging handle of the Radian. It's the SD version, so it's got the holes drilled into the side. I love that because I shoot this suppressed probably 80–90% of the time. The heart of the rifle is the barrel and the bolt, for sure. This bolt is from Arrow, just like most of my AR-15 bolts. And like I said, the barrel is from Ballistic Advantage. So if you have decent parts and a good lower parts kit, aka the fire control group, the rifle's gonna run. I've never had any issues with this guy. Like I said, I built it myself. I used to build AR-15s for customers. And when people would come in and ask what they wanted set up, I would generally recommend something like this. Having these parts, inexpensive, you get a really good rifle. I mean, we're talking probably just over $1,000 for the entire rifle build itself, not counting optics and everything, but you're getting into the territory of not that expensive for a very good rifle. Now, the last part I wanted to touch up on though, and it is important, is the whole reason for this build. It's the interoperability, guys. What I mean by that is these guns are a dime a dozen. If we were in Ukraine, would I be recommending an AR-15? No, I probably wouldn't. Be something of the AK platform, and then in the caliber that everybody shoots over there. We're in America. So if you're in America, what are you gonna shoot? You're gonna shoot an AR-15, you're gonna shoot it in 5.56. That's what this gun is. But the other reason that this gun's really important, and why I've been thinking about it since I put out my last video with the SIG Spear, that gun is unique. The odds of me finding someone who has a spear and has parts to exchange to fix a broken spear is pretty much nothing. That's why you go with something like this. Everyone has these. I think I have 3 or 4 regular AR-15s with nothing fancy about them. They're not piston driven. They're just regular DI guns. I think that basically regardless of which rifles you have, even if you're someone like me who has the spears, I think there's a reason for you to still keep these. This is probably going to be your primary in all seriousness, as much as I love the other systems. It's just that the other systems are so unique. And that is it, gentlemen. I'm sure I'm going to think of like 100 things later that I forgot, and I'm going to remember them while I'm editing the video, but that's it. If you guys like this style of me just going over a rifle piece by piece and explaining why I did what I did, why I put on the gun, what I put on the gun, let me know. I think I want to make a series of it. I want to go over the spears again. I want to go over the Rattler. I want to go over handguns. I want to go over gear. I mean, I have a lot of stuff to cover. I feel like at this point I've spent too much money on this crap to not have a YouTube video. Obviously, I just do my instruction, but this is more fun. So if you guys like this, please let me know. We can't let Brass Facts have all the fun with his healer. This is Aspen, Blue Healer, and I love her. Aspen, you're a good girl. I'm sure I'm... Fuck!